So, December 2024, 5 years since our first
Incredible.
Innovator legacy as it is now. Remember?
Yeah, it's gone very, very quickly, Richard.
It has. And let's dive straight. I mean, this is the first chance in 5 years we've had to sit down and talk like this. And take on board the lessons and where we're moving, because now people don't always remember that we're going through a similar journey to these people in terms of growing our business, developing a service. And this year feels like it's now the time for us to really grow and expand. And I think what we've got is the benefit of the lessons of the hundreds of people that we've supported through their UK journeys as well. So
yeah, us going through our own journey at the same time as trying to help people on theirs is a really interesting thing to do.
Yeah, and of course the problems are quite different because we've always been UK based anyway. But of the 600-700 people we've supported, what's your biggest takeaway? What's the biggest thing you've learned from this?
So a couple of things. The diversity of the businesses that we see wanting to come into the UK is quite incredible.
Yeah.
Totally sector agnostic. Some amazing businesses, technical and non-technical.
Yeah.
But also, perhaps this isn't surprising to a lot of business people anyway, is the fact that things take a lot longer than anticipated. Just to get things going, to get things moving, sales in particular, taking longer than hoped for to materialise. No, you don't.
Yeah.
And, the challenge, as we always say, and we've referred to this at our events, for anyone born, living in the UK all their lives, to start up a business is a challenging thing to do anyway. But for someone, particularly who's never even been to the UK before, to come along, move the family in, get everything set up, get the life sorted, and then try to start and grow a business is an incredibly challenging thing to do.
And you've lost 6 months, because no one plans for that as well, I think. You've lost 6 months immediately, minimum, to getting settled, getting used to UK culture, sending out a few emails and finding out you're not getting the traction that you actually wanted. You're then 6 to 12 months behind your time frame. And of course, on the legacy programme, we saw people every month, those who wanted it, so we could give them that guidance and that support. On the founder programme, we don't see people until the 12 or 24 month checkpoint unless they have one of the added value services.
Yeah. These services are optional, not mandatory. So the only mandatory, as you say, are the 12 and 24 month checkpoints. But there are optional services that people can use. And that essentially means they've got access to a load more resources and, in particular, talking with a coach on a monthly basis. And just having that chat on a personal and a business level is, we've found, and the feedback we've had is really, really important.
Well, I always think even if we took our business to another primarily English-speaking lounge, let's say the States for the sake of argument, they wanted an endorsing body or business support program, so we go over there. I wouldn't want to go to America and not understand how the local business infrastructure works. Sales are totally different. Everything's totally different. So I think the importance of having someone local who can help you build that business. And with the two services, of course, we've got your business coach that gives you someone to help you be the best you can be and understand the local or national nuances. But then we've got the expert services where you can speak to a sector expert or a subject matter expert once or over a period of sessions to give you that local expertise that you need. And I think that's my biggest takeaway as well. It takes you a lot longer than you expected or planned for to settle in a new country, and having someone to guide you is...
Always. It's very rare for us to see a business plan that's been met or exceeded. In the vast majority of cases, people are behind the curve.
I don't think I've ever seen one. I don't think I've ever seen a single business plan that's gone to time frame.
I'm struggling to think of one, actually.
Yeah. So I think the big thing there, the big takeaway for me there certainly is having someone to support you through that. If you're serious about building a business, everyone has good business coaches or access to expert advice. Having that access to expert knowledge, whether it's a coach or an expert, is probably one of the biggest steps you could take in building your business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
One of my highlights of the year has to be India. And we were invited to this fantastic event by a company called Globalist, headed by a guy who has amazing visions, Devesh Sharma, last year, but we couldn't make it because of timing. This year we were able to make it. The timing was nice for us. And I was really, really impressed with Devesh, with the whole DGEMS 24 event, with Globalist, with Forbes India. Taking apart the pleasure of visiting India for the first time, what was your impression of the event, the entrepreneurs? What were your big takeaways from that?
The event was superb, and full credit to Globalist, Forbes India.
Yeah.
The hotel where the event was staged, the organisation was second to none.
It was
absolutely brilliant. But of course, the thing that really makes the event is the companies and the entrepreneurs that were there. And for me, that was probably the most impressive thing, was the quality and the diversity of the businesses that attended. So the top.
I mean, it shouldn't surprise us to a degree, because we're used to working with so many businesses in the UK. But of course, for those who aren't aware, this event was run and it pulled together or identified 200 of the top emerging businesses in India, mostly tech. And we had a series of arranged meetings in India. And from that very first meeting, I thought, wow, well, absolutely. In terms of what they've developed, in terms of their journey, in terms of the traction they've got so far. The other thing that was huge for me is their growth ambition. And when you think Delhi, so we were in Delhi, when you think Delhi alone has almost half the population of the UK.
Yeah, 33 million, was it?
Something like that, yeah. I think around 30 million mark. And it was, and these companies had come from all over India.
Yeah.
Then it sort of makes sense that the diversity there and the quality of the businesses would probably exceed many of those within the UK. But it's the scaling ambition that was key for me.
Absolutely, and in particular the UK.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
That was a great thing to sort of hear, that a lot of these entrepreneurs really still see UK as a great place that they want to expand their businesses.
Central operation for access into EU and even the States in some cases.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's nice to see, and we can cover that in a separate session, how that hasn't been impacted by Brexit, but I think it's supported by quality of life in the UK in terms of access to schools. But the other thing that's key to mention here is a lot of them didn't want to personally move to the UK, but wanted to expand their business operation into the UK, which raises a whole series of different opportunities for the entrepreneurs, but for us as a business as well.
Yeah, so we had several one-to-one sessions with some of these entrepreneurs, and I don't recall one of them actually mentioning a visa.
No, not at all.
Wishing to settle into the UK.
But if we move on to the sort of the sessions here as well. So what was quite clear to us, and this came through all of the sessions, the day's worth of sessions, was that these entrepreneurs have learned so much on their journey so far, and they've achieved so much on that journey so far, but only so much of that is transferable. So it may be maybe the product is transferable, maybe they can run their operations primarily, if it's software, for example, from India. But again, there's so much they don't know and they need help with if they want to bring that business to the UK.
One of the most important messages from the DGEMS event was the local guide.
Yeah, the need for a local guide.
The need for a local guide.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same with whether it's the UK or the States. People have perceptions of, I can enter the UK market, I can enter the US market. And the reality is, there was a report I was reading last week, is depending on which state you sell into in the US, depending on which sector you're in, a lot of them are highly regulated, highly bureaucratic, and without that expertise of someone local, you can very quickly get lost.
The marketing and sales processes are totally different. It always makes me think a little bit when we're looking at the innovative visa applications as well, is you receive an application within a certain sector, and for example, it might be a coder going to go into the medical sector, but without knowledge of how the NHS works or how the medical sector works. And that differs. I mean, there must be no other country that has something like the NHS, for example. Those approaches to understanding the market and to getting your products out there, they differ vastly. So the need for the local guide.
Absolutely. And the NHS is a great example because it's such a complex and fragmented organisational structure. Yeah. If you don't know where to go and who to speak to, it can be very, very challenging. But so this local guide, speak to someone that's actually within those networks, understands the structure, is hugely important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where de-globalists are looking to have some fantastic aims in terms of building business without borders. But that's probably a topic for a whole another conversation.
Yeah, it is indeed.
The one thing that really interested me about India and DGEMS is their ambition to build businesses without borders is phenomenal. And I thought it was a massive goal until I spoke to Divesh. And Divesh's vision is superb. But it makes you realise that our business, we started with a relatively local business.
Yeah.
And we only really started to grow when we looked national and international, and now 95% of our business probably comes from other countries.
Yep.
But that internationalisation is a massive thing for businesses moving forward, but it's nothing new.
Well, it isn't. Businesses have been outsourcing for a long time, and particularly Southeast Asia, India in particular. So whilst it is nothing new, I think, what recent events have taught us is that, we need to look beyond what we're doing on a regular basis. And that was one of the key things that came across from those businesses in India. And, the great thing was that they were looking at the UK as a great place to do business in and from.
I think one of the challenges is Brits can be very parochial. And you see so many drives for businesses within a certain county, buy local. Buy local is a massive message. And I understand that from a greengrocer or from some local services. But I think you tend to find the businesses with the most scalable potential don't always buy local. They buy best in class or most affordable in class. And local is a secondary driver rather than a primary driver.
Yes.
This was it, and we were working a while ago with a web coder, and he said, "Yeah, I outsource all my business to India." And at the time, when I was a lot less educated in this area, I thought, "Well, why do you do that? Is that not costing British jobs? How do you ensure the quality?" But of course, the quality, we now know the quality is there if you know where to look and how to do your due diligence and so on. Yeah. And when you think about it, outsourcing to another country, it has the lower cost base. But again, the likelihood is with a higher number of people, you will find that quality.
Yes.
Just because it's a different country doesn't mean the quality is any lesser to the UK. It might be the absolute opposite. So I think now finding those outsourcing opportunities, internationalisation is happening, and that will have an impact on small businesses in the UK as well.
And for small businesses, it's understanding, what to look to outsource.
It's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity, yeah. What to outsource, what not to outsource.
Yeah.
And it's a two-way street.
Absolutely. That's the other thing.
And I think that was one of the messages from DGEMS and from Divesh in particular, is that, it's a massive opportunity both ways. And once you start to remove those borders, that's when it gets really exciting.
Well, this is the other thing. We've talked a little bit about outsourcing. We saw projects in India that were quite different to anything we've seen in the UK. Okay, not massively different, but they were sufficiently different. There would be a massive opportunity for them if they had entry to the UK. And it doesn't matter, especially when you've got software as a service. Let's say, for example, software for the education sector. It doesn't matter where that software was built or who built that software. What really matters is the impact it has. And someone's not going to buy a local piece of educational software when there's something much, much better or much, I will say better, that has more impact, that does the job, that has simply been written or is managed overseas. I think Brits want to see a local point of contact.
Yes.
Because there's often a concern that if someone is in another country, then contact might be difficult, support might be difficult.
I was just going to say support is a key thing. You know, when something does go wrong, or there's a bit of a problem,
there's
how
someone
quickly
to speak
can
to.
it be resolved?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
someone to speak to. I mean, even at the point now where you want someone who works within a British time frame to be able to respond within an hour. I mean, they're the demands now, and that's what makes a difference, I think, with the good businesses, being able to support in a very meaningful time frame. But even if it's an overnight response, I think internationalisation is happening. The opportunities are massive, and it really is a case of avoid it at your peril for British businesses, but for the rest of the world, Britain is open for business, not only for Britain, but as a hub to the rest of Europe.
Yeah, and the message of the local guide, you know, working with people who understand sectors, who understand networks, who understand how things could be different culturally, is hugely important.
That is absolutely massive. Having someone in the UK who represents your business, or having an office in the UK, I think makes a huge, huge difference, especially in terms of trust.
Absolutely, yeah.
So this always makes me chuckle a little bit. And I had my first sort of big life crisis at 40 when
That was late. I had loads of crises before I was 40.
No, this is my
Usually
big one.
involving children.
This is my big one because I'd worked for this amazing aerospace innovation centre, and I'd worked on innovation support programmes. And because they were government programmes, those organisations didn't exist anymore. They'd all been closed. It wasn't down to me.
Well, you say that. Yeah.
And it made me realise I'd had experience as an engineer. I'd had experience as a sort of innovation program manager and developing and supporting businesses. But I hadn't really cast out one career. And it takes me back to my days in aerospace when my manager sat me down and he said, "You work in innovation. That's not really a subject. It's not aerodynamics, or it's not design. It's not really a tangible thing." And I was determined to craft a career in innovation. I'm happy I did because of where it is now. But what I did do at some point, I sat back and I thought, what have I done with my career? What have I done with my life? And I suddenly worked out I've had a mix of very, very individual skills, helping grant funding, helping raise investment, building businesses, engineering, design. And it was a very novel skill set. And when we bring that into the work we've done in our various organisations, building business support programs, the contacts we had as well. And what it made me realise is the strength of my skill set now is not so much in depth, but more in breadth. And it goes back to what we said in the previous session about needing an accountant and needing someone. It's often a case not of what you know, but who you know.
Yeah.
And again, yourself with the contacts you've built, of course, through the various consultant sets that you've built up, there probably aren't many sectors where you don't have someone who knows.
Yeah, I mean, a similar thing happened to me in terms of building or helping to build a business and building networks. We started local, went regional, and then went national. And as you're going along that journey, the people that you meet, the organisations that you come into contact with is just incredible. So making use of those contacts, making use of those networks. Personally, I'm not a great networker. And I think you're similar in this regard.
I really don't like networking.
It's a very hard thing to do.
Let me rephrase that. Networking in India, I absolutely loved, but I don't like local networking and local networking groups. Yeah. But that's because that's not where our business is.
Yeah. But I think when there's that connection there, when there is like a common purpose,
absolutely,
and you're in there talking about a particular subject, a particular sector, that's when it becomes really, really valuable.
I love our networking events when we bring our community together and we're stood on the top of the Shard or in Dragon's Den or somewhere like that, and we're speaking to our people about something very, very positive. But networking with the aim of gaining business isn't something I'm very, very comfortable with. But I mean, to take the example back to India, I love this conversation. It was great. And clearly we won't mention what it was about or who it was, but someone said regarding our networks, so if I wanted a castle in Ireland, could you find me a castle in Ireland? And jokes aside and family contacts aside, the answer was sat here today, I can't find you a castle in Ireland, but given a week, I'd be able to find out if there are any castles in Ireland for sale, who's selling them, what they're charging, and put you in touch with the right person. And I think that goes through for pretty much any business problem. I can't think, when we were talking in our development session yesterday about what we would cover and what questions we could answer, I think we came to the conclusion that there probably isn't a single business question we couldn't answer in a very short time frame and put you in touch with the right expert to deliver that solution. Clearly, it wouldn't be you or I, but we'd be able to facilitate a conversation and a relationship with the right person to make that happen.
Yeah, that only comes with time.
Yeah,
and
experience, exposure to the right networks in the right areas.
Exactly, and it's also that having that, I guess, hunger and the ability to find that person or find that organisation.
You've got to understand the problem as well. I think so someone may present you with a problem, and the problem they're presenting with you, the problem they're presenting you with, might not actually ask the direct question of what they need. So what they're asking for, what they need, might be two quite different things. And I think the skill or the ability to analyse the question a little bit deeper and say, well, is that really what you want, or is this really what you want, is probably a key skill. So going back to the question that was in my mind then, is that what makes a good local or national guide? Is that what people coming to the UK actually want? I think it is. It's the ability to manage a programme and facilitate contacts and networks and relationships to give them precisely what they want.
Yeah, and I'm sure some people have the perception of, well, I just want to speak to someone who can sell for me.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't work like that, in my experience.
No, absolutely.
I think it's a case of accessing the right networks in the right way with the right message.
Yeah.
And you've got to get all those things lined up, to make it successful.
Do you know, you answered that question, though. If someone came to you and said, I just want you to sell my things for me, you've told them precisely what they need. Well, they need to understand what the competition is, what the strategy is. Yeah. And again, even in terms of the lead generation, if that's specifically what they wanted, that's something we can manage.
Yeah. And competitor analysis is crucial in that process as well, understanding what's being delivered out there.
Yeah.
What are the current pain points that people have, how your products or services can mitigate those pain points and deliver real value to them.
Absolutely, yeah. One thing that's been on my mind, especially since India, well, actually it's before India, is internationalisation is happening. There's increasing competition in the majority of business sectors where localisation isn't so important, the greengrocers, the hairdressers, the postmen and so on. If you do software as a service, there's competition. If you do design, it started with Fiverr years ago, with people all over the world offering new services. And internationalisation is going to be a threat for some local businesses who tend to focus their audience on a more local network. But then when we look at other technologies, AI in particular, now at the moment there's a resistance to AI. People coming on LinkedIn, other platforms, saying
it's a resistance or a fear.
Well, I don't know. I think it's probably both, because people say, "Oh, that's AI generated." So what? All that means to me, that's AI generated, is it's tapped into the vast experience available within the internet. Yeah. Okay, it's not personal. So if I gave you an email that was AI generated, then it wouldn't be my personal knowledge. And it may mean that I can't deliver what was in that email without the use of AI, because it's not from me. It's from an AI system. But I think we all know there's a place for AI moving forward. But I've got a few questions
here. Well, it's not going to go away, is it?
Well, that's it. The fear really is it's threatening jobs.
Yeah.
Do you think a combination of internationalisation and AI means we're approaching a revolution in business that is a threat to small local businesses that don't have scalable ambition to go national or international? Are we going to see a big change in how business works over the next 5 years, do you think?
I would think we are. I think it's already happening. How that affects very local businesses, I'm not quite sure. Yeah. But it's already and will definitely affect businesses that are looking to sell and operate in international markets. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the business. I mean, it'll adversely affect those who only operate locally, because your local business may say, "Hang on a minute, they're charging $5,000 for this service. I can now get it from a trusted source in India for $2,500." So with cost as a driver, why? And unless I wanted that local contact, and again, even the good local contacts are then outsourcing their work overseas anyway. So I think there is a big shift in how business is happening. But again, it's how you use technology like AI. See, the beautiful thing here is AI is only as good as the question that you ask it. So if you say, how do I sell my product? AI will probably come with a strategy. If you said, how do I sell my product in Lancashire or in London or the UK, then it would probably have a more specific strategy. But again, I think the big thing for me here is AI only taps into the knowledge that's available through the internet, and it's often that local knowledge, that stuff you have in the back of your head, that subconscious knowledge, that makes a good local guide and deliver something very personal that AI can't deliver.
Seems to me the rate of advancement in AI tools and the amount of information that is out there is just a bit mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So, and no doubt that pace is going to continue. So who knows where it's going to be in 5 years' time. And I think what businesses have to realise is they better embrace it, and they better be aware of it. Otherwise, it could seriously catch you out.
I think we might go full circle at some point. And what makes me laugh as well, you look to our left, we're in this fantastic recording studio here. There's a record player.
Yeah,
record players went out of fashion in the 80s when the tape came in, then CD came in, and everything went full circle, and suddenly record players became so cool. My wife said to me, I'd love a record player for Christmas. I forgot that, actually. I better get that back on the list. She said, I'd love a record player for Christmas because I can get out all the old records and put them on, and things become cool again. And if you look at the way banks have gone, the banks closed and they went very, very impersonal. A lot of them went call centre based, which taps into opportunities we were talking about earlier.
Well, going back to the record player, the vinyl sales are still doing really, really well.
Well, even research.
Even CD sales.
Well, of course, everything's gone digital. Well, bar that anyway now. So, but I think again, the point there is things go full circle, and automation and digitization is not always good. People often want that personal touch, that hand-holding, a human to ask a question as opposed to a machine to ask a question. I think with a machine, you can't look it in the eye and find out if it's telling the truth or not or got it right. But a human, you often get those. There's a phrase for it. It's not intangible. The more personalised elements and the subconscious knowledge and the stuff that you can't get through AI. So I do think whilst we are heading for a revolution in business, it's the personal contacts and that local knowledge that's not on the internet that makes a difference in terms of having a local guide.
Yeah. Would you say the message then is to be aware, embrace, ignore it at your peril?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if there is a revolution, be ready.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, there will always be space for that personal. Yeah. And it goes back to that innovate or die. Identify what your opportunities are, identify what the pain point is, and make sure you're solving that. And that's clearly what we're trying to aim to do by providing that local support to OC's entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Support that AI can't give. One of my highlights of the year was being able to present at that event and interview Devesh.
And you did it very well, Richard.
Well, thank you very well. It was funny because we got to the event and we were expecting to do this panel, and I'd been asked to do a session with Devesh, who of course is the founder of Deglobalist, and it was called a fireside session. So I thought, that sounds nice. It'll be myself, Devesh, 4 or 5 other people sat in front of this fireplace having a conversation about business in Britain. And
Christmas stocking in the background.
That's the one. And of course we walk into the room and there's 400 seats there and 2 white seats on the stage, and I thought, this is a conversation between myself and Devesh, as if we're having a fireside conversation in front of 400 people. Yeah. And that's all, of course, the Deglobalist sign and the Forbes sign. And I thought, but what an amazing opportunity. What an honour to be asked to open that event with Devesh and have that conversation with him. And I said it was true. I could have spoke to the guy for absolutely hours. His vision is superb. But I think the big thing there that's important for our growth as a business as well is the importance of developing those overseas partnerships. And of course, De-Globalist, the event was in London, but their vision is to do this on an international scale. Companies in Malaysia, Mexico, wherever, if they're wanting to do business between themselves, and more for us with Britain, that's a two-way thing, that's from Britain into their country and from their country into Britain, then international partnerships are so important for Geminus Innovation and Geminus Group as we move forward.
Yeah, they are. And it's the same for any business that really wants to expand on the global stage. It's all about local guides, local partnerships, whether that's suppliers, whether that's customers, whether that's strategic partners, funding partners.
Absolutely.
It's all about identifying the right people to help you develop your business and grow it.
I think the big thing for me here as well is if there are trade organisations who represent a number of businesses or entrepreneurs who want to move into the UK in terms of their business, then I think there's good, strong relationships to be had with them. But also, of course, we've got another programme I'm going to speak about separately, Nexus, which is our programme that engages with British universities. If there are overseas universities that want access to British business knowledge or British entrepreneur networks, then Nexus, I think, would be a good programme for them. We're going to speak about Nexus separately. But again, it's having those contacts within universities. We want to pull together an international university network. We want to bring together opportunities for businesses to trade in the UK. And we only do that, I think, by having relationships with those trade organisations.
Obviously, we're biased, but,
Are we?
Yeah, we are. Particularly towards the UK.
Yeah.
We love the UK. We love living here and doing business here.
Yeah.
And one of the great things about the UK is such the wide variety of trade bodies, sector organisations, networks.
That's true.
The universities, the academic innovation arm of the NHS. You could go on forever.
Absolutely.
The sheer volume of these organisations and people, and the vast majority of them are very, very willing to speak to people, to gain new knowledge and to collaborate. Particularly with small businesses. The UK government is really keen on helping small businesses to get into these networks, to bid for larger contracts and to grow. So the UK is a really great place,
absolutely,
in that respect.
And for me as well, the big thing for us is building those contacts with the overseas equivalents. So when they're looking for UK opportunities, with the people to come to.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we were talking about planning, building the business, then I love the whole red ocean, blue ocean thing, where red ocean is very, very crowded. There's a lot of support. It's red because it's cutthroat and it's a race to the bottom price-wise. There are so many support programs around for entrepreneurs in the UK. I don't think many of them are that good. They try and teach you to be everything, all singing, all dancing. But I guess because a lot of those are government funded or supported and students aren't taxpayers, support for international student and graduate entrepreneurs tends to be a lot more limited. I think there are excellent enterprise teams in many of the universities, but a recent report, I think it's called End to End, it's available through the Nexus website, I'll go into that in a few seconds, talked about the entrepreneurship gap and the additional problems that international entrepreneurs face. We've sort of covered that, talking about how international founders have that sort of problem. But this is why we developed Nexus. So Nexus is our support program for international and graduate student entrepreneurs, international student and graduate entrepreneurs and enterprise teams, to give them something extra that complements what enterprise teams can provide, especially from an international perspective. But the good thing is it taps into our existing network of entrepreneurs who have gone through great journeys themselves. I think having that those peers there, and people who are a bit further down the path is so important in terms of their progression.
The enterprise teams at the universities have done a great job, and the ones that we've met are so enthusiastic, and there's a genuine sort of duty of care to the students to help them with their ideas, help them to create a business, advise them on how to grow things. And it's absolutely brilliant to see that. Clearly, there is a limit to what they can provide in terms of support, because usually they're operating with very limited resources. And then once obviously the student needs to get onto the next step, whether that's another visa or leave the university, that's often where the support ends. Yeah. And really, that was the birth of the idea for Nexus, wasn't it?
The thing is, we had the resources developed for the entrepreneurs, the international entrepreneurs going through our journeys. So to be able to open those networks to international student graduate entrepreneurs gave them access to people who would maybe come from a similar background, either geographically or socially or whatever, and they've gone through a similar journey. They're in a new country trying to build a business, a new culture trying to build a business, and to say, hey, how did you deal with this problem? How did you deal with that problem? And for me, the network is the biggest thing. But the ambition for this, of course, is to get a number of so the plan with Nexus is the university subscribes to the program and then gives its graduate entrepreneurs membership access. I mean, it can also give business students access if they want a better understanding of British business culture. But what we want to do with Nexus is get it to a point where it has a good number, 20, 30, 40 British universities and HEIs involved, and then start to bring in overseas universities and HEIs, because to give those universities access to British business knowledge, British business networks of international entrepreneurs should then expand that knowledge and spread that knowledge. And again, it's doing that business without borders. It's giving overseas entrepreneurs access to the British networks, but also access to British facilities and to academic facilities and so on. So, I mean, the ambition for Nexus is massive, but I think we've built such a good network with Geminus Innovation and Innovator International, just opening that experience. How many people there? 500-600 entrepreneurs in those networks, having them share their knowledge with student and graduate entrepreneurs, it must be invaluable to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And, being able to go beyond the realms of the university and those immediate networks to access other entrepreneurs who are not graduates, access all the information that's freely available out there, whether that's in the UK or internationally, and as you say, opening up those international networks, and for peer learning, for development opportunities. That's really the ambition behind Nexus.
The reason it's been a year in the making, Nexus, is because we didn't realise how diverse the capabilities within the enterprise teams were.
Just incredible.
It is. That's why we've developed something that we hope, or we believe it does, complement the experience provided by the enterprise teams. But the good thing is the programme's flexible. It's always there to change, and the sessions we can do with the universities help as well.
And there's been a lot of things changing within that particular sector as well. Obviously, the Innovator Founder Visa, which of course subsumed the old startup visa.
Of course,
the change with the ERDF funding has meant structural changes to the teams. Yeah. So it really shifting sands within the sector itself.
That's it.
So that was the other main reason around Nexus, is to provide something.
I'm very excited to see how Nexus grows, because I think it has a lot of potential to help universities, the students, the entrepreneurs, and the enterprise teams. So hopefully that will get a good foothold in the UK and then expand internationally.
2025 is quite an exciting year for it. Yeah.
Absolutely. When we were planning D-Globalist and D-Gems 24, I remember speaking to the team and I said, what do these people actually want? And they said, well, some of them may want to come to the UK and work. And of course, Innovator International deals with those visa clients. But also many of them may want to sell into the UK or have presence in the UK. And they're not sure how to do it.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, okay, we've got the visa knowledge. That's something we're not dealing with. So it became a focal point for our expansion. We've developed a new business proposition called YOR. YOR as in YAW, lovely aerospace term that means movement. Sideways movement. But the big thing for me here also goes back to the message that came out of D-Globalist in terms of needing local representation.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what your is. It helps overseas businesses better understand the UK market, have a plan to enter the UK market, and even actually have hands-on support in delivering that plan within the UK. So whether they want to be present in the UK, whether they want their team to be present in the UK, or whether they want someone to represent them in the UK, the growth of our organisation should offer a solution to all three.
And the advantage we have is over the last 25 years, we've been involved in a lot of business support projects, helping a lot of individual businesses, whether that's through coaching, consultancy, working actually directly for them in some cases. And over that period of time, what you do is you build knowledge, you build your networks, you build your own experience, so you know lots of people. You get exposed to certain sectors, which sometimes can be difficult to access if you're not in there.
This is one of the things that I've always thought is a problem with government-funded support programs, and we've mentioned this previously. They try and teach the founder to be everything that they need to be in terms of a financier, a salesperson, a fundraiser. They have to build the product, they have to sell the product, they have to support the product, and often the solution isn't in creating jacks of all trades, it's in partnering with the right people to deliver the best solution.
And we've mentioned before that whilst when you are a small business, when you're starting out, you need to wear lots of hats. Because you can't afford to buy people in, or you can't afford to outsource. But very quickly, if you're going to grow a business, and if you're going to scale a business, you need to divest a lot of those responsibilities, tasks, activities.
Absolutely.
You need to delegate, and that means, and if you're going to do that in a safe way, in a risk mitigated way, then you've got to do it with people that you know, like, and trust.
Absolutely. This is the beautiful thing as well. And you could find whatever support you need in the UK, but we go back to what we call the margarine, or the better international analogy, probably the butter. The butter problem. You've got one knife full of butter, 3 slices of toast. You can spread the butter so thinly, it's just totally ineffective. And we know that people want access to the UK, but often you might need 4 or 5 or 6 different contacts in the UK. You might want a sales partner, you might want a marketing partner, you might want a tech support partner, and having a single point of contact who can manage those relationships for you, either put you in touch with them or actually manage them on your behalf. Effectively, that's where your delivers massive value to people who want to gain a foothold in the UK.
And it's finding the right one.
Absolutely.
So even for businesses in the UK that say, right, we need to expand, let's hire a salesperson. Even for those businesses, potentially that could take you 6 months to hire, find out they're not the right person, and to get rid of them and find someone else. So going through that process can be very, very painful. So the ability to access a trusted network, a trusted partner, a trusted supplier is absolutely huge.
Absolutely. And again, it may be that you think you need a salesperson in the UK, so you access a generic sales or lead generation organisation when you're actually selling into the medical sector. And it's having someone who knows the medical sector in that context. So I think for me, that's where your adds massive, massive value, being the single point of contact, a single trusted point of contact who can understand your needs and put you in touch with the right people to deliver your project in the UK, or represent you for the UK to outsource back into you again.
That's the essence of the idea, really, is just helping people to access sectors, networks, individuals, so that they can grow their business in a sort of safe as environment as you can grow a business.
Trust, competence and knowledge is key.
Yeah, it is.
Really enjoyed having these conversations.
We'll have to do it again, won't we?
Well, absolutely. And
probably make it a regular thing. And
I think we should. We should bring more people in.
Yeah, and just having that little bit of time out, just have a sit back, have a think about things, and discuss them is really valuable for us, actually.
I think it's made me think.
Hopefully it's giving some value to people listening to this, but it's useful for us as a business too.
Absolutely. So if you've enjoyed this conversation, if you enjoyed listening to this conversation, then please go to our YouTube channel, search for Innovator Pulse, and you'll find this along with many other conversations which we hope will be of value to you. Thank you. If you've enjoyed these videos and you want to know more about what we do, you can find out more about Geminus Group UK by visiting geminusgroupuk.com. You can also find Innovator International at innovatorinternational.com for all of your visa issues. You can find your-uk.com if you have overseas interests and you want to do business in or with the UK. And if you're an academic organisation who wants to know more about Nexus, the website is nexus-uk.com. We'll put all of these on the screen here now so you can see them. And finally, if it's just some business support you want, then please visit innovatorpulse.com, where you'll find our free business videos, resources and our members area. Thank you.